But at the end of the day, your name's on it because you've contractually obligated yourself through your owner contract to collect and remit lodging taxes. Every single one of us does. So if anything ever happened with that, you're the one that's going to take the liability, not them, not the $80 billion company that flies in people from New York and California to take out our state legislatures to dinners. And, we all understand how lobbying works. So not saying anything's illegal with doing that, but that's not local business. That's not Alabama business. That's not keeping money in the state and helping employers employ more people. It's just not. And it's sad and it keeps happening. And I'm like, what's next? Because if there's a pathway for Airbnb to do it, I mean, the other HOAs could start doing it.
Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. This is your essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business with advice and insights from the best in the biz. I'm your host, Lynell Gordon. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, make sure to go back and catch the part 1 of my conversation with Ginger Harrelson. She is the co-owner and chief legal officer of Beachball Properties in Orange Beach, Alabama. And guys, in part 1, we broke down the Airbnb-backed insurance bill moving through the Alabama legislature, what the merchant of record means and why it matters to every licensed property manager, and the coalition of 20 property managers who stopped that bill from passing the Senate. Today, we're picking up right where we left off, and we're getting into what you actually can do about all of it. Because we owe it to our owners to make sure that we take care of that money.
And, we're in the middle of spring break season, and if Airbnb were to do something like pull out of Alabama in the middle of spring break and say, oh, well, it's because we've been told or we think that we're not complying with the law. Well, who does that affect? Well, now you're affecting possibly property managers that have had the bookings through Airbnb. You're affecting the homeowners and you're affecting the consumers. You already know you're not complying with the law. You've known it for a few years because we've talked about it.
You know what? I think that if that were the case, think about it if you were a consumer. Okay, if I'm a spring breaker and that were to happen, let's look at a situation where it did happen. Who was the company that went out of business and all of a sudden everybody, like the week before they went there or the day before, they went there on that day and they had that happened recently.
Vacasa's transition to...
I don't think it was Vacasa. I think it was another company and it was in Europe as well. I just remember that. Well, people went and they found rentals. And here's the thing. If they were to pull out, let's just be real honest, you'd show availability that week and people would rent. So how much would you lose? Certainly there'd be some loss, but I wouldn't think that's an amazing threat.
Yeah. And here's the thing. People are not finding out about Gulf Shores and Orange Beach through the Airbnb platform.
No, not anymore.
They're going to Airbnb to search for places to stay because they know that they want to travel to Orange Beach and Gulf Shores. Well, thankfully, Vrbo has been a great partner. You can find properties on Vrbo, or better yet, booking direct. We own the domain beachball.com. It is as easy to book on our site than it is to book on the OTAs. And you're going to save money because, you're not paying a service fee to use the website. So I think that would be foolish of them, in my opinion. Again, appreciate being able to book properties through their platform. I just want them to comply with the law. And it's just a fairness thing. No special treatment. If I have to provide detailed accounting to the city, you should have to provide detailed accounting to the city. Because now you've taken the option for me to be able to provide that accounting because you're holding the money and you're allegedly providing it to the city, but we don't know. The city gets a mystery amount every month. No details, nothing. They don't know whether they're getting the correct amount or not.
No, that's true. That's true all over. So why would we as professionals feel like it's okay for someone to make up an amount and give it to them and not be able to prove it?
Would we be able to get away with that?
No, it's unfair treatment.
As a local business, do you think that we could just send whatever amount of money? But just not provide any documentation for it? No. We would have somebody show up at our office tomorrow. And that's the whole problem. There are no offices to show up at for Airbnb. What state authority are you going to be able to use to audit? Like Airbnb, or to be able to come in and examine the books? Like we're sitting here right now. We could have someone for the real estate commission knock on our door and say, hey, I want to see all your books right now. And we would have to open them. And we're willing and able to. But where are you going to go knock on Airbnb's door to get the same type of scrutiny? or the same type of accountability.
I feel like they treat us like puppets. When we think about that, we are literally being controlled by an outside authority that doesn't have the same fiduciary duties that we do. So, I mean, it's a real issue. It's not a minor thing. This is a really big issue.
And also, like the Fort Morgan area that we talked about earlier, they are unincorporated. They're part of the county. So they don't have as much taxation as the area of Gulf Shores does, right? Because Gulf Shores has a 10% city tax. Well, all the addresses out in Fort Morgan have a Gulf Shores street address. And there may have been instances, where Airbnb has collected a 16% tax because the property in Fort Morgan has a Gulf Shores address. And then how do they know where the property is if they're not familiar with the area? How can they even possibly pretend to ensure taxation compliance?
Wow, that's a mic drop when you think about it. I recently heard, and gosh, I can't remember where, that they were collecting like 10% tax somewhere. And I don't know this for positive. I haven't seen any paperwork, guys. It was information given to me by someone who does know, but I don't even remember who it was right now. And I don't know that they have documentation because there is no documentation, but they were collecting tax and it was 10% in an area where there was no 10% tax there. And so that's a lot of money. And where's that money going to? Is it getting paid as taxes? We don't know because there's no documentation. That's a lot of money. There's a lot of financial reason to continue doing things the way they're doing. So I hope that our state representatives, our city representatives will take note of what you're saying. Now, hopefully someone, you guys who are property managers who deal with this all the time, I hope you get involved on that level so that you can help ensure compliance, because the only people that are losing out are you. You're not being treated fairly. You're being treated differently than a big player who has $1 gazillion and we don't.
But at the end of the day, your name's on it because you've contractually obligated yourself through your owner contract to collect and remit lodging taxes. Every single one of us does. So if anything ever happened with that, you're the one that's going to take the liability, not them, not the $80 billion company that flies in people from New York and California to take out our state legislatures to dinners. And, we all understand how lobbying works. So not saying anything's illegal with doing that, but that's not local business. That's not Alabama business. That's not keeping money in the state and helping employers employ more people. It's just not. And it's sad. And it keeps happening. And I'm like, what's next? Because if there's a pathway for Airbnb to do it, I mean, the other HOAs could start doing it.
If they do get through that, I'm sure they're looking at that to see what's happening.
You're in handcuffs.
It's not being brushed under the table for sure. But guys, if you are interested in being a part of the solution here and really helping for the situation that's happening, because it's happening all over the United States, there's not anywhere that's not affected by that. Matter of fact, I just want to say this. There are companies that are coming out that they're vendors and their whole purpose is to do like a quote unquote insurance for people who are in this position. They're actually looking to create a product that's not insurance. I don't know how they're getting around that, but they are. But it's a product that if you lose money on that, they will pay you back for that. And I know someone who was recently approached by someone, and that's a great idea. As a matter of fact, it was posted on LinkedIn and I posted, that's a fabulous idea. But in certain areas, it doesn't work because in our market, we hold the money in trust until the guest comes and then it's released to the owners. So we're not going to lose that money because we're not predispersing it until after the stay. But there are markets that are used to predispersing. And in those markets, guys, more than ever, you should talk to Ginger and you should help advocate for that area for sure.
I'm not going to hide behind the fact that when I ran for city council, I talked to my colleagues, friendly competition, and I'm like, we have to be able to put a stop to some of this. And of course, if it's anything with any type of question, I abstain from the vote to send the resolution to the Attorney General. But I just want to make it clear, this is for like the industry. There's no personal gain from me defeating legislation or making Airbnb comply with the same laws that we're subject to. It's not that at all. It's people feel passionately about government and getting into politics because they want to affect change. And this was one of the areas that I feel passionately about and that I've talked to my colleagues at other professional management companies about. And, when there's a co-host that manages 5 properties, okay, fine, whatever, like not in compliance with the law, but it's easy to brush that aside. Now these co-hosts are managing 30, 40, 50 properties, and they're all sending out this form letter, which I would love to know where the form letter came from. But I don't know if you've seen this, Lynell, but it says, are you losing money using a professional property management company? Did you know that your listing is in the bottom part of Airbnb's search rankings? Like they all say the exact same verbiage, the exact same thing, which is very, very coincidental.
No, send me a copy.
Yeah, I've received 2 different letters from co-hosting companies that are basically word for word the same. And I'm like, then it begs to question, well, if you're in the bottom percent, and this co-host are saying that they're able to ensure top rankings, like how does the algorithm work on the Airbnb platform? I guess is my ultimate question. How do they know that their co-hosting properties are in the top percentage of search and the professional management companies are not in the top percentage? How do they know that?
Wow. That is scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. When I get them, I throw them away because my family manages 5 properties. So I don't even pay attention unless it's especially egregious. And then I send it to her and I'm like, you might want to run this by the real estate commission. If it's something that's illegal, then I do reach out because people do send illegal things out.
Yeah. So that's another point. It's illegal in the state of Alabama to directly solicit another person's property that's managed by, Beachball. And they know it's managed by Beachball because it has their name in it. Are you losing money with Beachball properties? And then in the body of the email or the letter, it says, are you losing money with your professional management company? What? But here's the problem with this. The real estate commission can't do anything about it because they're not licensed real estate agents or licensed brokerage.
I actually did have that happen. And that's exactly what I called them. And they said, we can't do anything. They're not licensed. And I'm like, this is insanity. It's really insanity to me. I'm like, what can we do? So the law is what we can do. We can make sure that people are complying by the law, that everybody is treated on the same level, because that's what we're supposed to do here. I really think we have a duty to ourselves and to the industry to think about this, at least, guys. If you don't do anything else, think about what's been said here and how that could affect one day, because I can assure you that the people that are non-compliant, they're not sitting still and thinking everything's going to be okay, especially knowing that Airbnb is running to legislatures and looking to get bills passed so that they're covered. And look, if they're doing that so that they're legally compliant with everything that's going on in the law, fabulous. That's the best case scenario. But it doesn't appear to be that case.
Does not appear to be that way. In my humble view.
So that's just our opinion. It's our personal opinion. Ginger, tell me how people can reach out to you if you are interested in helping in this. And guys, we need voices. We need voices all over the industry.
And it is scary. I mean, I'll be the first to tell you, this is not without risk. I mean, they could deplatform us tomorrow. And again, I would have to explain why to our owners that we've been deplatformed from Airbnb. Or, they have a possibility of pulling all the properties out of Alabama and say, well, it's because of Ginger and Hunter Harrelson at Beachball Properties, or Ginger Harrelson, the Orange Beach City Councilwoman. And it's like, that's a way that they could spin what is ultimately us saying you have to follow the law into something that's self-serving and that could put a huge target on us. It's risky to be involved in any type of advocacy. And sometimes you're like, oh, is it worth it to stand on this? But like, what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And again, going back to what Chris Elliott said, he's like, as soon as I looked at the issue and gave it the time to sit down and study it, like he was like, there's no question, you're right. This is what Alabama law says, and that is not what they're doing. And we ultimately have to wait on the Attorney General to confirm, because they're the ultimate law enforcement authority in the state. So they will have to make that decision. But for the people that have looked at it, it's clear and to us what's happening.
I don't think that Airbnb is this big, ugly thing that's trying to hurt us. I really don't. I think they're just trying to make money. They're a business trying to make money in an area that's heavily regulated in some places, and they haven't been called to account to comply with it. And we think that's wrong. We think that everybody should have to comply with the law, that we're none above the law.
And one compromise position that we just put forth was possibly, okay, well, would you be accepting if certain property managers, like the ones that are operating at the level we are, where you have 350 plus properties, if we say, like, we'll be the merchant of record here, but if there's someone that manages 20 properties and they don't really want to undertake and
Trust account. They don't want all the responsibility.
right, they don't want to do any of that. They don't want to be bothered. They just want to be a one-man show and manage 20 properties. What if we said, we'll whatever the compromise is, you let us, the ones that want to be merchant of record, be the merchant of record, and the other people that don't, let them operate the way they want to. They said, no, there's no compromise.
That's insanity so here's the thing that's in common there. The thing that's in common there is accountability. There's some accountability that comes in there. It's a big deal, guys. I think we have a responsibility to get involved with things that affect our industry in such a significant way. So, Ginger, how can people get involved? Realistically level, say I have 40 properties, I'm an agent, I have fiduciary duty, or if I'm in Florida and I don't have to have all those licensing, what can I do to make sure that they have to pay the same taxes that I do?
Well, professional managers in Florida should be banding together to pass licenses, which require a broker's license. I'm not familiar with the history of what happened there or why they're not a licensed law state. But again, what other industry can you operate without a license? Like cosmetologists have license. People that cut hair have licenses. Like dentists, doctors, like we all have some type of accountability, right? Like people that manage other people's assets, especially and sometimes, actually, oftentimes, their number one most expensive asset that they own
and they'll ever have in their life
should have someone to be accountable, whether that's a board or whatnot. I mean, licensed law serves to protect consumers. And so I think that if I were in Florida, I would be getting together with all my other property management friends and saying, what can we do to lobby the Florida legislature to require a license in Florida for property management? That would be step number one. Because a lot of this conversation isn't relevant outside of licensed law states. And when I'm asked to speak at advocacy events, I do have to point that out, that if your state doesn't require a real estate brokerage to operate vacation rentals, then some of this conversation is important, but I don't know what you can do from a legal standpoint because there is no law that they have to comply with.
Okay, well, let's talk to the ones that do have to comply. There's a lot of them that have to have license.
Reach out to me. Rick Elliott is another.
Love Rick Elliott.
He deserves all the praise and advocacy awards that he could possibly receive because what he's doing in South Carolina is phenomenal. They're wanting to require basically a point of contact within a certain distance of vacation rentals that would be able to respond with a certain time. And again, that's based on safety and concern of the city government, of the police, of the property owner. I mean, I do think it's important that you have someone that has boots on the ground that can get to a property if there's an emergency. It's not uncommon or absurd to ask for something like that. Like, it's public safety. And if the owner lives absentee, but they're choosing to put their investment up as a business, I mean, what business doesn't really have any type of presence? You have to have someone, if it's a physical location like a vacation rental is, someone to be that local person.
Guys, I encourage you to reach out to Ginger and talk to her personally. She is very accessible. She is not one, like, I have a funny thing that happened. I was reaching out to someone today and they're in property management. And I reached out to their personal email address, which they'd given me. And I got a reply back. And the reply was, I'm sorry, I don't check this very often. How about email me at my business address? So I emailed them at their business address. And I got an immediate reply and it said, hey, I don't usually monitor my email. How about text me? So I picked up the phone and I called them. So, I mean, being accessible is one of the first things that we need to be in real estate. So if people want to reach you, Ginger, how can they reach you?
Ginger@beachball.com is my email address. My cell phone is 251-751-8259. And I'm normally a little bit better with text first, but feel free to reach out and give me a call. I don't always answer numbers I don't know, but leave me a voicemail and I will call you back. I will. I've always called people back or tried to respond in a timely manner. That's always been one of the pillars of business is that, again, yeah, like you said, you have to be accessible. You have to be able to get in touch.
This episode of the Vacation Rental Show is sponsored by RevMax, the premier full-service revenue management system built for vacation rental managers who are looking for a market edge, RevMax offers data-driven tools and services that will increase revenue and drive more profit. Connect with their revenue management experts at getrevmax.com and discover their full-service revenue management solution. You'll be glad you did. And I know we've spoken just about advocacy today, but one of the other things that I would love to have you on to talk about, you are an incredible marketer, like none other that I've seen. You're one of my favorite marketers in the business. I have like 3 or 4 that I just love and follow. So let me just throw this out. What is the number one piece of advice you would give to people as far as marketing their property management company?
Create community. That's my number one piece of advice. We came up with the name Beachball Properties, which, easier to remember than some of the other names I've heard, I guess. But we call all of our owners and guests beach ballers. I started a Facebook group in our local area that now has over 115,000 followers. I've created community.
What? Would you say that again? You have what?
So I created a Facebook group called What's Happening Orange Beach. And don't quote, I think it's over 110 or 115,000 followers that have joined on Facebook. And then I have a similar one that I started for Gulf Shores, and I think it's up to 60,000. I started a few years after Orange Beach. But when you create that community, you're also somewhat controlling the audience and the messaging and who can advertise or what you do. But you have to be able to make people feel emotionally compelled to use your company. Like, I want to use Beachball Properties because I know when I get there, I'm getting a swag bag that has a fan and it has koozies and it has discounts, and I'm supporting a local family and locals that work for us, and I feel like I'm part of the beach ball team. Yeah, so creating community and recognizable community.
Tell me why you decided to run for city council. I wasn't surprised. I thought it was a great idea, but...
Well, we do need to talk about the fact that Airbnb, again, I don't want to keep harping, but we have got to find a solution where property managers can come together and be able to put money towards lobbying. It has to happen.
Do we have anything like that right now that you would suggest that we use? Do we have anything specifically for lobbying?
I know that Verma has an advocacy branch, and Scott Leggett might know more about that. And I know maybe Inhabit, you would know more about that. But I think that you can write and tell them, hey, I'm having trouble with this law out in California or wherever. And sometimes they'll come in and help pay for defense or legal opinions or whatnot. But we need to follow up about that. But we need something right now. I mean, this is all happening so quick in Alabama. And thankfully we still funded our own lobbying, but just being able to be prepared to be able to do it, because Airbnb and Verbo and all these other, they surely are. They can charter their private jet to Alabama right now without too much of a notice. But for us, it takes some coordination. But why I decided to run for city council really was because there was a lack of representation of business owners on the council, the previous council, of parents that have, I'm the only candidate that ran and won that has children in the school system.
Wow.
We're a city-owned school, so that was important to me. But also just our whole city runs on tourism, and we provide a significant percentage of the state budget through our lodging and our retail tax. I could look up the statistics, but I mean, it's a shocking amount that comes out of Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. We are the crown jewel of Alabama for all, and Huntsville is probably the other one, but it's important to have business-oriented people in positions of power that understand how the tourism works down here. And that while we need to, restrain growth as much as we can responsibly, we also have to just come up with a plan, because the people are coming. I mean, we're a product of our own success. We have people moving down here. Baldwin County is the fastest growing county in Alabama. People are wanting to come to the beach and live down here full time. And just even a few years ago, 10 years ago, when we moved down here, Hunter and I wouldn't say we struggled to find friends, but there weren't a whole lot of people that were young family. I mean, there weren't a whole lot of young people down here. It was a retirement community. And now more and more people that are our age are moving to the area. And our schools are now our 4A, which is in Alabama, you have all the way up to 6 or 7A. But that's a pretty big size school for Orange Beach. It has 8,000 or so permanent residents. So I think it's really important that someone that actually owns and runs a business and does budgets and is engaged with the community in the way that we have representation on the council. Because, I'm not speaking negatively or ill, but a lot of people decide to run for city council after they're retired, or they moved here and they've had a successful business and sold it, but now, their mindset has kind of changed. And that has its place. It does. But I do think that you need a diverse group of people that truly represent the community as a whole and not just the retiree section of the community.
One of the things that comes to mind to me when we talk about the issue with Airbnb and the lack of being responsible for auditing and finding out what those taxes actually are paying for. We fought a whole war, if you guys remember, about taxation without representation. You might remember that. That was the whole reason that we fought England to get our own country, guys. Think about this. They are representing property management without having the legal responsibility. Well, they have legal responsibility without the responsibility of proving that they're paying taxes for what they say that they're collecting. And that's a huge amount of money we're talking about. And I think that if you really give it a deep thought there, I hope you'll think about becoming involved.
And if anyone, it takes people to create or come up with new ideas. But like, if anyone that listens to this has like a great idea about how we can become more put together, more organized, please let me know. Because right now it feels like Ginger and Hunter Harrelson and Rick Elliott and a few others fighting these battles by ourselves. And I know we're not, because we'll tell people in the industry what's happening and they'll be like, you're awesome, you're an advocate. And those things are great to hear. But at the end of the day, just a text message exchange I had with our friend Travis Wilburn the other day. I was telling him some of the stuff that was happening in Alabama, and he goes, do you ever get tired of being a badass? I said, what I get tired of is people not caring about our industry and about professional property management. That was my response. Because sometimes it does feel like you're like exposing yourself, but it matters. It matters to me. I wouldn't be exposing myself, or I wouldn't be at a battle with Airbnb about compliance with Alabama law if it didn't matter to me, but some other people have to care too. And that's what was so encouraging when we sent that letter, helped Beth Gindler, the CEO, get some words together. And the letter that we sent Chris Elliott and 20 other representatives signed it, representing the majority of condos that are rented in the area. So that says something, that 20 other people in our industry were willing to sign their names to this letter saying we are not being treated fairly.
And you guys can make a difference. Yes, Ginger is smart. She's very well educated and she's well spoken. And, we may not feel like we are as qualified to do that, but I promise you, all it takes, guys, is interest and time. You have to be interested in what was going on here and the time to do it. And you can do the same thing. And it's truly being heroes in our industry for representing the property management groups that are being treated unfairly. So come call her and be a part of the solution here.
It's funny because when I first started going to conferences, and I was always asked to be on the advocacy panels because I'm a lawyer. So they thought, oh, well, you would be good to sit up here and I guess talk about like legal contracts and property, whatever. Yeah, that sounds great. Well, no one would ever come to the advocacy. And so then they started asking me to be on marketing panels, which marketing is a fun topic to talk about, but the entire room should be packed out when an advocacy panel happens at these conferences. And it hardly ever is, because I know it can be like eyes glazed over. And sometimes when we're talking about issues that are happening out in California or wherever where vacation rentals may have been banned by city ordinance, that's not really relevant to everyone in the room. So it's easier to kind of tune that out. But I think that it's important to show up for these things. It's so important. And it's so important to put time and money behind it to support. I had a fellow property management friendly competitor reach out to me the other day and she was like, we have to do something about these co-hosts. What do I need to do? And I said, all I can tell you, because I've obviously brought the issue up in front of our current city council and our mayor, and they're very well versed in it. I said, but I can't be up there standing alone. Like, you have to say, this is not about Beachball properties, or this is about me at Bella Beach, or this is about me at my beach getaways. And I think that it's finally catching on. I spoke at a conference that was in town in Gulf Shores, and I had the entire room stand up and clap after some of the stuff I was saying, because we're all experiencing it. Every single one of us. And there's just some people that don't have, I guess, maybe the capacity, whether that's the time, the space.
Or the self-confidence.
Yeah, or the self-confidence to stand up and be the face. But if you can come to a city council member or a city council meeting or sign a letter or say, this is the same thing that's happening to me, because our senator that's helped us so much with this, I mean, he called other business owners. Randy Hall at Liquid Life, he called him and said, is this true? Because of course he's doing his job. He's investigating or, reaching out to other people. And he's like, it's absolutely true. She's 100% right. I will sign, I will get behind it. And then he called 2 more that have kind of over 300 properties, and both of them told him the same thing. That's 100% true. That's what happens. Because it does sound almost unbelievable. When you're telling someone that's not in the industry all these things that are happening, that sounds crazy. How could that actually be? How could they actually hold the money until the guest checks in and expect you to front load all these fees and then unilaterally issue refund decisions? It sounds crazy. How could it happen? But that's the story of every professional manager I ever speak with. The same story.
So guys, reach out and ask her, hey, I'm XYZ. Here's who I am. Here's what I do. How can I help? And I think that getting involved in a local level, wherever you are, in whatever city, whatever state, let's do this together. And you're welcome to reach out to me, and I will put you in touch if I know somebody in your area. But I do know all the advocates, and we are going to have Scott Leggett to talk about what's happening, not just locally, but, on an international level as far as advocacy. And he and Ginger are compatriots here, but they're working in different arenas there, doing kind of different things. So let's support advocacy, and I hope people will reach out to us. Reach out to us.
Yeah, thank people that are doing it, because again, advocacy isn't your full-time job. It's certainly not mine. I mean, I have Beachball properties. I'm a city council woman. I have 2 children. I have sports practices. I have all of these things that I'm committed to. And yet here I am making the time because it's important. And that's why I dropped everything that I needed to do the next day when I found out about this bill being lobbied by Airbnb. I dropped everything and went to Montgomery, because that's how important it is to me. And that's how important it should be to every single other professional management company.
Let's keep it on an even playing field where we are held to the same standard as everybody else is held to the same standard. And let's don't give special treatment to people just because they have a bunch of money. The Bible talks about that. I'm just going to say that. It says.
Yeah. I mean, it's the golden rule. Treat others how you would want to be treated. They are relying on us to operate the highest level of vacation rentals, or the highest professional level of vacation rentals in the area. What would you have without us? I don't know what their ultimate goal is, but maybe I've heard that there is some platform. I don't know if Airbnb is creating or who created it, but a platform now where cleaners can sign up for cleans. So you go on an app and you say, I can clean, there's all these available cleans, and the cleaner can just go ahead and sign up. Well, the app, as far as I know, doesn't have any type of business license verification for the cleaning company. That also creates another problem.
I haven't heard that. How are they vetting those people that are going into somebody else's house?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I just know that it exists, and that's how some of these co-hosts are operating, is that they put the cleans on the app and the cleaners claim the clean on the app.
Well, there's a need for it. So if there wasn't a need for it, there wouldn't be software for it. But here's the thing about it. It does need to be, these things need to be regulated. You guys know how hard. Housekeeping is probably the hardest part, other than homeowners. It is certainly the hardest part of property management. All right, guys. So if you feel the heart for this, please let me know. What I was saying, what the Bible says is when it says making a judgment, don't judge the poor just because they're poor. Don't judge the rich just because they're rich. You're supposed to be fair and just overall. And that's all we're looking for here. If you're going to hold us responsible as a state law, if they're holding us responsible for doing things, we should have the ability to do things. We shouldn't have those rights taken away from us. And that's the merchant of record part. I don't know about the insurance part and where they're going there. We'll know more in a few weeks, and we'll keep you up. Ginger, will you come back in a few months and tell us what's happening?
Absolutely. And I can assure you, a message to all the Airbnb people watching this podcast, the second Airbnb starts complying with Alabama law, I will speak favorably about them doing so. I am not someone that has this big grudge and wants to just beat up Airbnb. They're not playing by the rules that we all have to play with. And until they do, I will continue to try to hold them accountable. And if they deplatform me for that, I can't wait to tell everyone that they did that.
Well, I think that if they start deplatforming people, I think that would have just the opposite effect. You remember the commercial that came out with Chris, the CEO of McDonald's? Surely you've seen that on TikTok, where he's the big arch. Where he's,
yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I think it would have a similar effect as that. I think that those type of things that are very well thought out work well, but I don't think that if they start deplatforming people because they don't agree with their practices that are illegal, I don't think that'll play well for them. That's all I was saying.
It is something that makes you a little nervous, and it's a possibility because they are a private company. They can refuse service to anyone, but if they do that, I mean, I will say that they did it to the world. I mean, I can't keep quiet about it because, again, we're not asking for special treatment. We're asking for fair and equal treatment. And if they start complying with Alabama law and allowing us to be merchant of record, I will come on any podcast that asks me and I will praise them for making the right decision. I will, because that is what the right decision is.
It'll cost them a lot of money because they want to hold the money. Think about it. Escrow accounts are escrow accounts for a reason. Well, number one, they're required by law, but number two, if they hold that money, they can make money on that.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They're not holding the funds in an escrow account. They possibly couldn't be because they don't have a bank in Alabama.
Oh.
So they're also not complying with that portion of the law. So, it's not just one provision of the law. Like, there's so many interconnected, right? Like, as a licensed real estate brokerage, you're required to hold customer funds in an escrow account in the state of Alabama, FDIC insured. They're not complying with any of those points. And then the Alabama Tourism Protection Act, really that provision of the law requiring in writing for us to be merchant of record on OTA transactions was really just kind of a reinforcement of existing real estate law that's been the law for decades. So now you're talking about at least 2, 3, 4 laws you're going to have to change in Alabama, or just try to remove the requirement that property management has to be licensed, which I think would be a dumb idea.
No, I agree 100%. I just want to say something about you guys personally. Look, I know you, and I know that you're not trying to do anything that would increase your revenue here. It's just the right thing to do to stand out. You're the kind of people who just do the right thing. And I know that during the time, even during COVID, when people wanted their money back, you just gave them their money back. I mean, there are so many things that I've seen you guys do. You live this principle out in your life. You are looking for people to do the right thing. And you're an attorney. And I know you look at it that way. I mean, one of my very best friends is an attorney. And the number one thing that I know about her is, even if I'm the plaintiff and not the fan, I know that she's going to say, you just have to do the right thing, Lynell. You have to be fair and equal. So I think that's all we're looking for, is to be fair and equal. And it's not fair and equal.
And during COVID, actually, I think we were the first, or if not the first, one of the first companies in the area to issue full refunds. And we did it almost immediately. And then once we did it, other companies started, it was like a domino effect. And the companies that did not do that took a real big public PR bashing on social media and in regular media. News outlets were covering it. And it was hard to do because at the time, we were certainly not the business that we are now. I mean,
so let me ask you this. Had you already distributed to the owners?
No.
Okay. So there are companies. Now, here's the thing. One of the things different about it, there are some companies that distribute half of it to the owners immediately. They were in such a that position for them was incredibly difficult because they had already distributed the money. They couldn't get the money back from the homeowners for the house, and those that weren't insured.
That's a very risky position. I mean, we distribute once a month, but it has to be, the stay has to be over. So like if a stay is the 31st to the 5th, then the owner would not receive the funds for that stay until the end of the month of the 5th.
That's wisdom. And I know that a lot of property managers have built a reputation for their homeowners for saying, hey, we're going to give you the money right away. That to me is a difficult position to put your company in, as people learned during COVID. So hopefully people that are starting property management companies, if you're just starting, think about why that's important. I know you want to be fair to the owner. I know you want to give them that money, but the problem is you are responsible for that money. And there is a lot of payout. That you were talking about things up front. I think about all the upfront costs. There's a lot more than what you mentioned. I mean, even cleaning is an upfront cost.
The supplies. I mean, the supplies for the stay. Like you have to buy toilet paper and shampoo and paper towel and sponges. And yes, like for one condo, that's insignificant. But if you're talking about 350 properties or how many ever, that's not an insignificant amount of money. And yes, we buy in bulk, but it's just that whole principle of like, why are we front loading all of this? And this $80 billion company is making money off the money that's due to us to be held or due to us to spend on some of the supplies to get ready for the stay. Like, Again, make it make sense.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. It's insanity. Well, is there anything else you want to say?
No, I enjoy being a guest. I appreciate you having me and all the advocacy work that you do yourself. I know that you're not paid to be an advocate, like I'm not paid to be an advocate, and that it takes, a passionate person and people standing up for the right thing. So I appreciate you and all you do.
I appreciate you very much too. And I have to tell you, you're one of my favorite people because of your heart and how much you care about the industry and how much you care about fairness and justice. I just believe that there's a special place for people that do that. So guys, please reach out and be a part of this. Help us to make the industry fair and equal across the board. We would really appreciate that. And I know you think, well, I'm just me. I can't do anything. I know I think that in a lot of times when people ask me to do stuff. I can think of lots of situations where I have felt that way. But I promise you that one person, you, will make a difference.
That's right.
Thank you for being with me, Ginger.
Thank you. We'll talk soon, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
To be continued.
For sure. This episode of the Vacation Rental Show is brought to you by RevMax. To find out more about how RevMax can help grow your vacation rental business, visit getrevmax.com. Make sure to search for the Vacation Rental Show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team here at Inhabit, thanks for listening.